What's happening, guys? And welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we're going to be talking about players we're thankful for in accordance with the season. It is Thanksgiving week, and I'm thankful to have a great normal co-host. He's out on assignment, but I'm also thankful to have an amazing guest. Our guest tonight is one of the original, and I say original, I'm going back almost 10 years of Dynasty content creators. You can find him over at, it's Tyler Guenthner. Tyler, remind me of your Twitter handle again.
You can find me at DHH_Tyler.
On the
X,
Dynasty Happy Hour.
And then it's just Tyler Guenthner on Blue Sky for all the people that transferred over there.
Tell me about Blue. I have not done Blue Sky yet. I'm an ex-lifer, I guess you'd say. So how is life on Blue Sky? It feels like that's where all the content creators went.
So it's Twitter from 2016. It's no ads. They're not trying to filter your whole entire feed with like, oh, here's this. It's just fantasy industry people giving advice, talking. But I think the talking is worn out to the point where now it's like in 4 pictures, name your favorite movies. And that's what it is right now. Like we're going through that phase.
Have you got to, so you're not quite to the phase where it's a picture of some French fries and the caption reads, ketchup isn't available. What are you putting on these?
There was a couple. And then of course we're almost hitting the stage where it's that circle of friends. And then it's got like the main friend in the middle and then a bunch. Yeah, we're hitting that phase in there. So it's social media. That's all I'll say. And yeah, it will never change.
The impact of social media and podcasting can't be understated, but you've been podcasting since, if I'm correct, 2015? Was that when you guys started?
2016.
16, okay.
It was actually the year before I got married. I decided to jump in with Dynasty Nerds and write. And then me and Chris Whitman, who was an ex-writer for Dynasty Nerds, we started Dynasty Happy Hour. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And yeah, now here we are.
And the reason I bring it up is that, you know, for those of you that are sports fans, and I'm assuming that's all of you because you're listening to a podcast about Dynasty Fantasy Football, you know, all the greats do a retirement tour, whether it's Derek Jeter with the Yankees. I'm sure when LeBron goes into retirement, he'll do a tour. John Cena, the WWE, he's retiring in 2025, and so is my buddy Tyler. So Tyler, after you just said almost finishing up season number 8 in content creation, you've just decided that it's better for you and your family to hang them up and pursue other things.
Yeah, I mean, the older I get, like I loved before. I still enjoy doing it a little bit, but like the rookie film watching, and I always told myself if I can't actually watch film and give 100% advice, I'm not going to give advice because I'm not going to sit there and just spit out, you know, can I swear on here? Spit out.
Oh, this is player profiler, sir. You swear as much as you want.
I don't want to spit out shit like diarrhea out the mouth where I'm just saying things I have no clue about. And when I first started this, I'm like, okay, when I get to that point, I'm done. And last year I watched tape, but then I was like, oh, it's too much time consuming. My kids want to play. So I think this is the year where I'm like, okay, I can't sit here and just spew out shit anymore. And I'm getting into soccer again. We talked about that off air. You have baseball, and soccer was actually my first sport love. I played it for years and years. I coach it. I'm going to coach my son here after my daughter goes into older grades. And now I play it during the day. And yeah, just scheduling the podcast got tough. And my interests are going elsewhere. So it's a struggle.
Well, we still got you locked in for the rest of 2024. And I think, you know, I mentioned John Cena, and if you've been ever any kind of a fan of pro wrestling, all those guys retire, but at some point they make that comeback. It may be for a night, it may be for a month. I think at some point, especially like around rookie fever time, like in May, we'll try to get you back on just to see how your leagues are going. Because Tyler, little do most of you know the player profiler. He's an award winner here on the Dynasty WarZone. He won Commissioner of the Year in our year-end awards, Jerry and I, we give awards for, best league mate, best commissioner. Tyler, you commission some leagues, you play in some leagues that you and I are in together. And you assured me that you will continue to be a Dynasty gamer.
Oh yeah.
You don't have time to be a Dynasty content creator.
It's like the thing is, when you talk about retiring and all these guys retiring, it's at the point where a lot of people look at him and be like, they're a year too late. And I think that's what probably people listening to Dynasty Happy Hour now, like they listen like nice, and then they hear me, they're like, oh, it's like Rodgers playing football right now. It's a year too late.
Yeah, that's very well said. That's what they said when Andrew Luck, Luke Kuechly, Patrick Willis, when all those guys retired young. It's always better to go out on top than to go out too late. Well, it's not too late in the Dynasty season. If you're wanting to make your leagues a little bit better, you want to start getting ready for the upcoming rookie season. That's like 2 months away. You may want to check out Dynasty Deluxe.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode, where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players, because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
I always appreciate Matt in those recorded spots for commercials. All right, Tyler, we're going to jump into good people, bad tweets. We're going to modify it just a little bit. We're going to call this good people, bad takes. And the person in question's my wife, my lovely wife. We've been married for many, many years. I'm asking you this because it goes, again, in accordance with the holiday this week, Thanksgiving. So my wife's take is that Thanksgiving is the best American holiday. Now, I know we have international listeners from Europe, all over the place, and Canada, huge in Canada, Australia. We're big in Australia. But my wife says that Thanksgiving is the best American holiday. What are your thoughts when you hear that take?
But before I get into it, when you say Australia, I know these guys probably still listen, but the guys from Aussie guys,
AJ and G?
Yeah, I miss you guys. That's all I'm going to say. God, they were good. That podcast was good too. But going back to the holidays, it's tough. And is Thanksgiving an actual holiday? What is the meaning of Thanksgiving? Like, to give thanks? But what happened during Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims? And there's a lot of history we probably don't know when it comes to Thanksgiving. I'm sure Jerry could tell you.
Yeah,
all
the
about
historian.
It.
Yeah, where's the historian when we need him?
Right, just he's nowhere to be found. So I'm just gonna muff this up for him. I'm probably just spewing a bunch of crap like always, but I love Christmas, and I don't know what it is about Christmas. My birthday is 3 days after Christmas, so and people are like, "Oh, you must have got all your presents lumped in." No, my mom made sure of that. My mom was like, "You get extra," so it was different for me. I was a little spoiled brat during Christmas time, so. I love Christmas. This year is actually the first year I put up lights for my kids because I slacked some of the years before. So this year I'm going all out for them. I put lights on my house. I'm going all out. We already got both of our trees. We got our real tree that we have. We just got it this Saturday. And we got our fake tree upstairs. So we are set. We love Christmas here. And Thanksgiving is just an excuse to eat a lot, I feel. So, yeah, I don't know where you're at.
Well, for me, I agree that Thanksgiving is the best food holiday. If you're
100%.
you're just talking pure eats, and you got a mom, or like my mother-in-law is a really good cook. So you go someplace, you get a ton of really good food. I love the fact that it's intertwined with football. You get the Lions game, you get the Cowboys game. Maybe 8-10 years ago, they added the evening game. It's all day football. It's all day food. I think that makes it great. I am like, I love to give gifts, but I hate to receive them. It makes me feel incredibly awkward.
I'm the
Like,
same way.
I'm like, dude, this is like, it's not for me. But my favorite holiday is the July 4th holiday. And it's not so much that it's Americans Independence Day. And, it's usually what you're doing. A lot of times you're on vacation. You've at least got the day off for the most part, unless you work in like restaurant or retail.
Hospital.
Yeah, hospital. There's another good one.
That's me. I usually
that's
work.
You. Yeah, I'm on shutdown. Normally we're doing baseball, but I like the weather. July 4th, another good food holiday. So I don't think it's the worst take in the world, but yeah, I got to disagree with my wife. I don't think Thanksgiving's a very good. I don't think it's the best holiday.
So another holiday I actually have grown to like because of my wife is Halloween. I was never like big into it. Usually when I was younger, it was an excuse to go out to the bar and get trashed and dress up. And now I enjoy it. I still dress up with my kids. I'm like a kid at heart. I have little inflatables. You guys all seen that T-Rex on Scott Fishbowl, the whole potathon? Yeah, I have that one. I've got one where an alien's kidnapping me. I got that one now. Yeah, I love Halloween now. I think for me, Halloween is the sign of like fall because in Minnesota, it's like 35 degrees that night and you got to bundle up like every year. It's like 50 to 60 every night. And then on Halloween night, 35 or so. And you got to bundle up. It's tried and true. It's like death taxes and cold on Halloween.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it is Minnesota. It's cold there in like August. So, and
yes,
you're South Canadian. Let's just be real.
Sunscreen at 45 degrees.
Sunscreen at 45 degrees. Yeah, there, eh? Well, listen, we're gonna wrap up good people, bad tweets. Even though it was my wife's take, I am going to still hit her with some Dana White because Dana White.
How fucking stupid you have to be to even think something like that, let alone say it publicly and act like you're fucking serious.
All right, that was the only Dana White pre-loaded into the soundboard. So there you go. Good people, bad tweets. All right, Tyler, we're going to talk about players that we're thankful for, but we're going to come at them from a different perspective, really just talking about guys that we're looking at. We're glad they're on our roster, or maybe we think so much of them, we want to go get them. Now, I mentioned it earlier. We're literally 2 months away from really getting into rookie stuff. We're 3 months away from the combine. As crazy as that is,
that's nuts.
It is. It's been re-upped in Indy. They're going to continue to do the combine through at least like. It's as someone who lives here, if you're flying out of Indy, the flight selection sucks. If you're flying in Indy, it's a good airport. It's good. If you're probably going to need a connection to get here. I'll just be honest, but Indy's a great place for the combine. But give me a rookie. Give me a rookie from this most recent class that you're thankful for. You're thankful that he broke out. You're thankful that he's on your rosters. Just give me a rookie and some of the reasons why you're excited about it.
This one's pretty easy for me, and I'm sure you'll agree. It's Drake May. And if there's one thing Memphis and I seem to always agree on, it's big armed, big stature, athletic quarterbacks that, yeah, they may be a little raw, but if you actually look on the inside, like maybe their scholarship at school, how they perform academically, like Justin Herbert, he was the Heisman academically. And hey, two people here sit next to each other, well, not next to each other. We saw that and we're like, hey, this is a smart guy, even though everybody's like, well, he's not there mentally. It's like, he's got everything else. He's there. He should get there mentally because he's a very smart guy. Drake May is the same way. Big arm. People were worried about him reading the field. But if you were watching and looking, he's very smart. He's great in the pocket. If you talk to anybody in New England, like my co-host Doug, all they raved about during this offseason was how smooth he was in the pocket and how it was just like a sixth sense, how he could move through the pocket, get open, and either run or push up the field and throw it. Like he always keeps his eyes out on the field. Drake May, if you held on to him, like he was another similar like Herbert, where it's like the value was just dropping. Oh, we can't beat out Jacoby Brissett. That's what everybody was saying. No, they did the right thing, and they didn't play him till he was ready. And I think he is further along than a lot of these quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, due to the fact that he was able to sit behind a veteran who was, wanting to teach this younger kid everything he knows. Yeah, Jacoby Brissett wasn't a good pro, but he's a very smart quarterback as well. And it's helped out May. And I think May, with his legs, with his arm, he's doing this with absolutely no weapons. Kendrick Bourne, I mean, are we really ooh and ahhing over him? DeMario Douglas, he's fine. He's nothing special. Hunter Henry, I mean, he's okay, but he's past his prime. He's doing this with all backup offensive linemen. That's all they played this past week. Drake May is playing very good football with nothing around him. This draft, I feel like they're drafting offensive line. They'll sign a T. Higgins or somebody. It's going to get better, and he's performing with this. Do you agree, Memphis?
The young household in general, big Drake May people. That's he doesn't listen to the podcast. That's what my son's getting for Christmas. He's getting a UNC Drake May jersey. That's what he wants. I don't know. He resonates with multiple people. Yeah, I like quarterbacks that run like Drake May. Somewhere I'm looking somewhere between Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Like, nothing against Lamar. He's the QB1 overall right now. And he's not even played tonight. He plays, against the Chargers this week. I don't know what not to like about this kid. They're going to continue. Hopefully, to your point, they draft an offensive lineman. They should be drafting in that top 5 to 6.
Yeah.
I love your call on T. Higgins. We actually mentioned this a couple of weeks ago on the show. T. Higgins, for everyone that boo-hooed and cried for him about, not getting a contract and getting franchise tagged, he is going to be the prettiest girl at the dance, here in about 4 months, actually. Free agency is right around the middle of March. He's going to be the prettiest girl at the dance, and everyone's going to want to get in line to try to take their shot. I think that's a great call. And yeah, he's doing it. Mine's another rookie, and then I want to ask you a side question that spun off this rookie question based on where you live. But my guy's Bo Nix. You and I are in Trade Addict 7 together. I made a trade up in that league to get him. He was my hot take guy when I said earlier in the season that Bo Nix was going to finish not only as a QB1, he was going to be the highest scoring rookie QB this season. He's currently in second through 12 games. He is behind Jaden Daniels, although I think Jaden Daniels played bad overall. But for what
Cliff Kingsbury second half. Oh, I mean, anybody who knows Cliff Kingsbury knows that his play calls dry out real quick.
They dry out like an overcooked turkey. How about that? We'll tie it right back to
some gravy.
We need some gravy on his play call, and it's done it like in November every year. It happened in college. It happened in the pros. It's happened with a new team. It happened with a new quarterback. It just seems like who he is. And, speaking of Drake May, and I don't think Bo Nix is athletic as Drake May, but this dude's not afraid to run. He's gonna attack him on for you. And like where you got him and where I think he'll go in startups this coming February, I think he's going to be a tremendous guy. I would not be surprised if he was drafted in a startup super flex somewhere between QB 18 and 24. I think people will blow him off. What do you think about Bo Nix?
For whoever who listens to Dynasty Happy Hour, they should know that I was never big on Bo Nix. Now, it wasn't his last year in Oregon that was the reason why I did it. It's the 2 years at Auburn that always haunted me. And I know I should never let the people's past bother who they are now, because he has grown. He did grow. My issue was his Auburn tape. His Auburn tape was horrible. Some of the worst quarterback play I may have ever seen in a college quarterback in my life. It was that bad. And then he goes to Oregon. They actually put an offense around him. I mean, we have seen now that he made Troy Franklin, and Troy Franklin wasn't him, as a lot of people really wanted him to turn out to be. 38-year-old Devon Vele, rookie, has outperformed Franklin. But Bo Nix, he's surprised me. And I have a friend that is a huge Denver fan. He drafted Bo Nix at 106 in a Superflex league. And I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, one of these quarterbacks have to hit for Denver, right? He goes, I'm going to put my cards in at Bo Nix. And it was a shot in the dark. He thought maybe because of the pedigree in college and how many games he started and how the trend we're seeing in the NFL of quarterbacks that have started more games than the 13 that Trubisky or Anthony Richardson have started, it helps them. Oh, wow. Starting more games actually helps people. Yeah. We need to look more into that as non-professional scouts for Dynasty. We need to look into that game started, the Bill Parcells rule a little more. And Bo Nix has definitely had his starts. He's growing on me. Now, I'm not all in. It's tough for me because just that tape, and I don't like Sean Payton. That's another thing. Hey, Falcons fan who hates I hate the Saints. I will hate anybody who's on the Saints, and I hate Sean Payton when he was coaching for the Saints, so that carried over. But yeah, it's just more personal bias for me. He's been very, very good, and yeah, I mean, later on, Zach Wilson will probably play him in a movie about Bo Nix, where he gets.
I think he's young. I think he's younger than Bo Nix. I mean, I know Bo. I just looked. Bo Nix turns 25 in February. He's a rookie.
Yeah,
turns 25. But this is what I always tell everybody. This goes to show who you work with matters. You know, who your boss is, who your coworkers are, and remember, unlike the NFL, you get to pick that. So if you're not necessarily thriving or don't have someone who's helping to support you, because Bo Nix, he's not doing this in Washington. He's not doing this in New England. I don't think he's doing this, and he's damn sure not doing it in like Las Vegas.
No,
you know, being there, and I mean, who's he got? He's got Cortland Sutton and nobody. I mean, I was kind of hoping Marvin Mims would be a thing. There was a lot of love for Greg Dulcich out there in the market. Javonte Williams is super streaky, but I want to move on. But I do want to ask you about a rookie from your neck of the woods. Now, my guy, Sam Darnold, is balling out of control in New England. I mean, excuse me, in Minnesota right now, which is where you live, and they're 9-2. Sam Darnold is currently 4th in the NFL in touchdowns. He is 9th in passing yards. In completion percentage, he's 11th. So essentially across the board in just about every measure, including wins, he's balling right now. Now, he'll be a free agent at the end of the season. What do you think is going to happen in Minnesota with Sam Darnold and with J.J. McCarthy? Because I have to assume that you're getting some local radio and newspaper talk, and maybe you have a different insight than us non-Minnesotans.
So the second surgery, I'm going to quote here because it was not a surgery. It was an injection. It was not a surgery. So he did not have a second surgery where everybody's all worried about his MCL. Nope. And JJ, I think this is the best situation for him. So if you're not a JJ guy, and you're like, oh, he's not ready and stuff, him actually being hurt and soaking everything mentally is going to help this very, very young player out. People forget he is very young. Now, going over to Darnold, I don't think he signs in Minnesota. The reason why they didn't want to keep Kirk Cousins is because of the money. And Cousins got, his deal in Atlanta. But when it comes to Darnold, he's going to probably get, what do you think, 35 to 45 mil a year somewhere?
I'm pulling up Baker Mayfield's contract. I think he'll get something similar to what Baker got in
Baker's
three years, $100 million.
That's fair.
And I think if you were to get that, because again, he's very young, he has a 5th-year option. I would not be surprised because what's the GM's name? Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah? Am I close?
Yeah. Now the issue is they paid Darisaw. They paid those 2 ends this offseason, which are playing outstanding. They paid Hawkinson.
JJ.
Yeah, they paid JJ. They would struggle for cap, and I think they don't want to do that. I think Kwesi does not want to do that with the cap. I do think JJ starts in Minnesota, and I think he will be. And the thing is, if you are up here in Minnesota, because I watch all the games. As I'm leaning away from the fantasy industry, I'm leaning more into fandom. So I'm watching more full games instead of just red zone or anything like that. Um, Kevin O'Connell hides a lot of Darnold's flaws. There's a lot of times in the game where you go, "Oh God, he's Darnolding." Like that's the thing up here where you're like, "Oh crap, here it is." Like it's coming. He makes some stupid plays. He's still got a great arm. That's fine. But KOC hides a lot of flaws of Darnold.
I agree with that, but if you're KOC and you're the GM and you go, I mean, they're 9-2 right now. So even if they go 500 the rest of the way, you're going to go 12-5. You're going to make the playoffs. What if they win a playoff game or two? Then you're going to go with a rookie who was, for all intents and purposes, a project to begin with. Like he was a bit of a system quarterback in Michigan. He was hidden behind a great running game and a Jim Harbaugh defense. And I will say that the Vikings can afford it because next year they have $78 million in cap. I would not be surprised if they didn't offer Darnold the Baker 3 for $100 and structure it to a way to where they can get out after the second year. That would be JJ going into his 4th NFL year, and the Vikings learning from their NFC North rivals, the Packers, and what they did with Jordan Love. Not to say that Sam Darnold's an Aaron Rodgers, but he's definitely capable for a couple of years.
So the issue with that is a lot of people that are around the building here in Minnesota agree that this was just a bonus. This year was not supposed to be great. Everybody expected us not to play great, but Kevin O'Connell is such a good coach when it comes to play calling and building that, and Flores' defense has surprised a lot of people with how he is just taking these defensive players like the Green something. God, I forgot his last name, but Greenway and Van Ginkel, the 2 edge players that we just signed this offseason, and they're playing outstanding, way better than they did at their past teams with Houston and Miami. But everything has just come together so perfectly, and I think it is just we're not looking at it as like, hey, this is our window. They know that this is kind of a bonus year, and that, hey, we can build off this next year. We can have this young player. They really like McCarthy up here, and I'm telling you, I think it's McCarthy next year. We have waited, and a good friend of ours, I'm sure Thor Nystrom, a lot of players he vouches for. I will listen, and I have never seen him be a bigger stand on a player than JJ McCarthy. He will live and die by JJ like he did with Laporta. And I'm telling you, the fact that he's so in on McCarthy makes me feel like McCarthy is prime. He's prime for greatness.
It was Jonathan Grenard.
Yes,
Greenway. Jonathan Grenard. Greenard. Yeah. However you want to go with that. If I was being a shithead, I'd be like, also, I remember how Thor bowed up for Malik Willis, but that's neither here. That's neither here nor there. I'm that's the guy. I always give Sam Darnold credit for breaking me of the habit of falling in love with players, but it's kind of like you with Dynasty podcasting. It's that famous meme or scene in The Godfather 3 where Al Pacino's like, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That's been Sam Darnold for 7 years.
I love Darnold too. I remember it was the year
Ginger
at Deshaun Kaiser. I bought his jersey after the 3rd preseason game with the Browns, and people thought I ruined Kaiser because I bought Vic Beasley's jersey after Atlanta's big run, and he just fell off the face of the earth. I bought Kaiser's jersey after his 3rd preseason game after he looked like he was prime. And I'm like, I'm going to buy a black New York Jets Darnold jersey his rookie year. And everybody was like, don't do it. Well, I didn't ruin him. It was his fault, and the Jets and Gase. And so that was not my fault. But yeah, seeing Darnold play good is good for the soul, because I just think he's a fine player. Now, I listened to TJ Hawkinson's interview this weekend, and he was talking about Darnold, and he goes, he's not high, he's not low. He's always just there. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't seem like he's the raw guy. I'd say he's probably more Justin Herbert than he is like Lamar or anything. Well, Lamar's not really voice. I don't know who's the rah guy. Brady,
Baker.
Yeah.
Baker's a rah guy. But you're 100% right. But I want to move on. If we turn this into a stone cold Sam Darnold podcast, I'll get hate. I'll get hate tweets. But I want to go. I don't say it in a negative direction. But is there a rookie that you're thankful you don't have a large exposure to? Like you saw the industry were hyping him up and firing him up, and you were just like, I don't see it, and you've ended up being right.
Well, that was Bo Nix for me, but Troy Franklin would probably be the one. I did not see it. I don't even know what I saw. I didn't see much. And I'm like, okay, he's a straight line guy in that college division where defenses are just like, okay, we'll just do shootouts and get in the 41-42 shootouts and allow Franklin to get past the defense. It was him. He was probably a mid-second, even though he's a 4th-round pick in the NFL. The NFL told us everything, and if he was not tied to Bo Nix, and Bo Nix probably was like, "Hey, 4th-round pick, let's take him," he might have been like a 5th or 6th-round guy. Like, let's be real. If it wasn't for Bo.
It could have very well. I mean, I was at the draft house with all the guys from Player Profiler, and I remember Cody Carpentier and Matty Kiwoom. Yeah. And I was sitting around listening to these guys, and they're like, when's Troy Franklin going to go? And he just kept falling. And then the fact that it makes sense. They tried to give Nix a safety blanket. Yeah, I was also not big on Troy Franklin. I didn't see it. My guy in this category was Trey Benson. Like and there are so many people, and even my boy Theo's not only is Theo a good friend, like Theo, much like yourself, is someone that through this content creation space I've actually made real life friends with.
Theo's not only is good shit.
Yeah, Theo's great, and he's the boss. He's the director of content at Player Profiler.
So he's hearing everything right now. Yeah, he's awesome.
We'll keep saying he's great.
He deserves his flowers.
Yeah, he deserves a raise. Matt, if you're listening, he deserves a raise. But he's big in on Trey Benson, and I just do not see it. I do not see Trey Benson as a big time running back in the NFL or for fantasy.
So,
and I could see why they would.
Yeah,
and I know we're probably a year away with James Conner being a bit of a blocker because he's one of those famous class of 2017s that just will not die at the running back position. But my guy's Trey Benson. Where were you at? I don't recall your exact stance on Trey Benson draft season.
A lot of people took him way earlier than I wanted to. The nice part about having a Florida State fan as your host for Dynasty Happy Hour is you get to see the background of players, and he told me all about Trey Benson. And when he, out of all people, does not like a Florida State Seminole, it raises a major red flag for me. And when he was like, I don't see it with Trey Benson, I worry about his upright running style. He's like, one thing Florida State did for him was open massive holes for him to run through. And when he gets in open field, yeah, he's fast and he's big, but he's a straight line guy. He has no wiggle to him. And that was his worry. And so it made me, when I had the 202, 203, I sat there thinking more and more about it. And that was one of the guys that I was worried. And he was not big on Keon Coleman as well. With him, I looked more at Keon Coleman's Michigan State tape and how he outperformed Jaden Reed and all that. I know Barry probably could tell you all about that. So I'm going to stay away from the Michigan State stats. Otherwise, he will DM me and just shun me. No. And
he'll just cuss you out.
Just
old Jerry. I'm glad you brought Jerry up because, Jerry's working. People are like, hey, when's Jerry coming back? Well, he didn't retire. He didn't quit. He's just been tied up with work. But I want to get into our second break. We'll get you to the breakout finder because finding these rookies can be difficult. And if you're looking for something you can download on your phone, not a huge investment, maybe you'd be interested in the breakout finder.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Breakout Finder coming at you. The breakout finder features 3 key tools. A database of metrics that include speed score, college dominator, breakout age, but also breakout finder only stats like dynamic score, level of competition, teammate score. All of these things are part of the overall breakout finder algorithm that pinpoints the probability that a player will break out. everyone's talking about my model does this and my model does that. Well, we give you the data points that go into the model. We have a feature that lets you compare players, and then we give you the precise probability of every wide receiver, every running back, sorted and filterable by class year. So when I'm talking to my friends and I need to show them why I'm so bullish on player X, I pull out the breakout finder and bam, there he is. So go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's $5 to get the breakout finder, and then a couple extra bucks to get some of these additional enhanced stats. Go download it and thank me later.
Something you're definitely going to want to have as we creep up on rookie season, because we get a lot of the first round guys right, but to have a little something extra for rounds 2 through whatever, 4 or 5, certainly be helpful. All right, Tyler, we're going to get into another one. So let's pretend you're a rebuilder. We've all got a rebuilding roster or two out there. Who is a player that right now you're grateful to have, you're thankful to have on a rebuilder? It's like, this is going to be a guy that he's young enough, but he's good enough that he is someone I can reshape this roster around.
Oh man, that is definitely a broad question. I'm gonna have to say Jonathan Brooks, just because I feel like he's so cheap. It is definitely a long play, but I mean, Chuba came out of nowhere. He's a good running back. I thought Chuba was fine. He's a very, what is he, like he's a college sprinter. I thought, coming in, he had more of the upright style. He reminded me of Tevin Coleman a little bit, where it's like long speed, upright style, and his vision wasn't quite there. And I think this year he finally got in the right scheme. If you're gonna knock Canales on anything, it's not going to be for his running program, where he's able to get the running backs touches and open field, because he's been very good at that his career. So Canales, I think, has helped him, but I don't think Chuba has the athleticism Jonathan Brooks has, the special talent, I'll say. And I do think these two will be in tandem next year. Jonathan Brooks, if you have a chance to buy low on him, a lot of people tell me that Trey Benson is worth more value-wise than Jonathan Brooks. I'd probably agree with you right now, but I think in the future, we're looking at, today's price is going to be cheaper than tomorrow's price for sure, because Jonathan Brooks, I think, is the future for this team. They traded up in front of Dallas to get him. They like him a lot. And just because Chuba got his money doesn't mean they can't use him, because we've seen in the NFL today that they want to use two backs. They want to just pound the ball and then play action, because you know what? Teams are daring everybody to run the ball. And I think that's what we're looking at, the running back renaissance this past year, where teams are like, hey, all right, we'll shove it right down your throat if you want to play too high. So, I think Jonathan Brooks as a rebuilding team, seeing him on a roster is just nice.
Yeah, I've been staunch on that same point all off season. It's a copycat league, and everybody's seeing the success of the Detroit offense, and they're not a one-for-one. Chuba and Brooks do not equal Gibbs and Montgomery, but you can see where if your offense is more run-focused, and I do believe Canales is a good offensive coordinator and can design enough, and how do you protect a quarterback? I mean, Bryce Young has played very well the last, they won 2 games in a row and took the Chiefs right down to the wire. Little side note, he's not someone I would want to rebuild around, but guys like Bryce Young and Will Levis, they're going to get another year. This rookie class is bad. The free agent class is not much better. I mean, it's Sam Darnold and a bunch of
the rookie class almost got hit this past weekend, where Shadur Sanders almost got his legs taken out from under him by the opposing team's defense. They went low, and it was definitely a headhunting shot. But if Sanders' legs were planted, he would be missing a lot of time next year. But
but that would ruin the class. So this draft is going to be, going back to JJ McCarthy. I've said this before. It's like if I were the Raiders, or I were, the Giants, because the Giants allegedly liked McCarthy, I'd be on the phone with Minnesota. Hey, how many picks do we have to give you to get McCarthy? Hey, you're happy with Sam? I don't know. That's everything. But going back to Brooks, I think he's going to be a smash. He's going to be a pass catching. I mean, I don't want to. it's unfair to him to say he's got, potential to be like an Alvin Kamara or
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, if there's one thing the fantasy world needs is more Jahmyr Gibbses. So I love yours. My guy is Malik Neighbors. Like if I'm rebuilding right now, I don't get crazy with rookies and say, oh, they're the wide receiver one, because I've heard plenty of people say that. Oh, Malik Neighbors, he had that good 3-ish game stretch. We got to same thing with Jaden Daniels. Look, I love these young guys, but the reason why I have Malik Neighbors is that because if you're in a rebuild and maybe you're just starting or you're going into year 2 of a rebuild, as much as I love Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, in another year or two, we're talking about year 5, year 6 for some of these guys. And whereas Malik Neighbors will be going into year 3, just as your team is, completedly, that's not a word. Unless
it is now.
It is now.
It is now.
Completedly. But you've completed your rebuild and you've got what could be in 2 years, the unequivocal wide receiver one. I'm remaining grounded on Neighbors. I had him as my wide receiver. I think it was 7 coming into the season. Jerry thought I was crazy. I just like the way the kid plays the game. I think he plays it the way that Jefferson plays it, Chase plays it. And I think he's someone that's going to get a big I know he's going to get a big quarterback upgrade in the offseason because Daniel Jones has not been good. I'll be because I said this with Theo. Speaking of Theo, we're talking about the Giants, man, from a dynasty standpoint. It's like a little secret stash. I really like Tyron Tracy. I really like Theo Johnson. He's a rookie tight end, but he's shown some flashes.
He's looked good.
Jerry likes Wan'Dale Robinson. I like Malik Neighbors, obviously. I mean, we're going to plug a quarterback into this situation, and they're going to be working with some good, maybe unproven talent. But back to you as the guest, where were you on Malik Neighbors, and where were you with the Neighbors versus Harrison?
I had about even. I had him about even. It was pick your poison. I had pick 103 in a couple leagues, and the person took Marv at 102, and I was not disappointed. I had one that took Malik at 102, and I was not sad. I think Marv and Malik are going to be kind of the Mike Evans, Odell Beckham of past. When everybody's like, oh, Mike Evans is wide receiver 1. No, Odell Beckham is wide receiver. Like, they're both great. At the time, they were both going to be elite. Odell Beckham because of injuries and a little stupidness, but mainly injuries slowed him down. Mike Evans just is unstoppable, can't be stopped. But yeah, I think it's going to be more like that, where they're going to be in that range where it's like, who cares? Take your pick. I still believe Marv is going to be a good player once the coach decides to use him like he should, instead of just sending him on deep routes. Like, come on, like, use Marv correctly, because he's a very good route runner. No, he's not going to burn you. He's got fantastic hands, and he's not, like, for how tall he is, he's not a jump ball specialist, which everybody would think he is. He's like his dad, but just how many, like 5 inches taller. So
his father, not a big man. I actually ran into him, a true story, in a Michael's, like the craft store.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I hate that store.
Every married man does. But I was dragged into one by my wife, and I look, and there was Marvin Harrison, who was drug in there by his wife.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what they were looking at, but yeah, he is. I'm 6 foot, 200 pounds. I was way bigger than that dude.
Yep.
But
surprisingly, Reggie Wayne is only 6 foot, about $198. People would think that this receiving core back in the day was taller than it usually was, but no,
they were just so smooth. And speaking of Reggie Wayne, he may have been like the forefather of that style of wide receiver that you're seeing guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase playing now. Like he didn't beat you with crazy speed. He was just always open. And he's about that same size. Because if you look at, Jefferson and Chase are like in that 6'1" range, not huge guys, not necessarily, they're in the NFL. They're way faster than all of us watching, producing, or listening to this podcast. But like by NFL standards, they're not super fast. Man, I miss the heyday of Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. I did want to get to one thing about your boy Marvin Harrison, because I love him too. I'm concerned that with Kyler as the quarterback there, And I said this on the RotoWire podcast with Alan Seslowski. I guess it was the XM radio show. I said he's going to be DK Metcalf with a better PR agent. You know, that guy that can win you a week. He can go 2 for 120 and 2 touchdowns. But like we saw where all the, I mean, just as recently as this week, we saw where all the volume goes in Arizona.
Yeah.
Trey McBride.
Yep.
So we're on tight ends. We'll wrap this up with a tight end question. Who are some tight ends that you're thankful for? Anyone that's winning you leagues, or someone you're just thankful that you're going to be able to build around?
Tucker Kraft. I think he's coming. He's coming, everybody. And I know he went 2 for 7 and a touchdown this week. He will arrive very quickly. And once Jordan Love, the thing with LaFleur is he really wants Romeo Doubs. He really wants Christian Watson to be a thing. But he's got 2 elite assets in the middle of the field, and Jaden Reed and Kraft. And once I think he realizes that you're going to see 8 targets a game for Tucker Kraft. And so everybody was on Luke Musgrave, who I loved. And if you didn't draft both of them and didn't have PTSD from the Hayden Hurst, Mark Andrews fiasco back in the day with the Ravens, which I did, so I drafted both of them when I had the chance. Luke Musgrave is like he's more of a fancier Jake Ferguson. He's savvy. He gets in the open zones easily. But then you look at Tucker Kraft, where he's a do-it-everything. I'm not going to say George Kittle because that's who everybody compares him to, but he reminds me of a young Trey McBride, which we just brought up. He's somebody who has a tenacity to him. Like he's nasty when he's got the ball in his hands. He doesn't give a shit who you are. He wants to bury you in the ground with his stiff arm. That's what he looks to do. I think that's why he's getting a little injured, because he's tough and he just wants to plow you into the ground when he's got the ball. But that's what we love about tight ends. He's a great blocker. He knows the game of tight ends. He's an old school tight end. And that's why I love him, because he fits perfectly in this offense. And I think once he's unlocked, he's going to be a top 5 tight end easily. And people are going to be like, well, shit, I didn't trade for him. You could probably get him for a mid to early second right now in Dynasty. And if you can snag him up, because once you get close to that draft, people get rookie fever, do it, because this guy is going to explode.
I smiled when you said, because that was going to be my guy. So I'm pivoting quickly. I love Tucker Kraft, and I was the guy, self-admitted. I was the guy who was on Musgrave.
Oh, me too.
I thought he was going to be the dude. I was like, I'm in there all the way. If I'd have told you through 12 games, through week 12, both guys have had a bye, so they've played 11 games. If I'd have told you back in August, so we'll rewind the clock 3 months. It's August 25th, not November 25th. And I told you that, hey, Tyler, we're going to be through 11 games played, and Tucker Kraft, the second-year tight end in Green Bay, is going to have more PPR points than Kyle Pitts through that window. Would you have believed me?
No, I mean, that's because Kyle Pitts has hurt me in the past, and he just keeps wanting to hurt me. It's a very mentally abusive relationship I have with Kyle Pitts. For those of you who know, I am an Atlanta fan, so I like to be abused and misused when it comes to fantasy players on my team. Yeah, I think this year, I mean, Trade Addict 7, we have Kyle Pitts. We got offers for him this offseason for just a first. And I told Doug, let's keep it going. Let's hang on to it. And here we are. Just left in the dark room.
That did not work out. Let me ask you a little, we'll do a little would you rather. So second year tight end as well. A lot of fanfare. Plays with one of the best quarterbacks in the league, has not really done a whole lot in his first 2 years. He's had some splash spots here or there. But would you rather, let's say you're doing a startup in 2 months, and would you rather Dalton Kincaid or Tucker Kraft?
Tucker Kraft. Kincaid for me, I don't know what it was, but it just seemed like people like he's the next Kelsey, he can get open and stuff. The thing with Kelsey is he learned to block. And when he kind of like, him and Mahomes had this weird symmetry where it's like, hey, I'm going to be here. And you see it fade because Kelsey doesn't have the athleticism anymore to where he can get open in the zone. And I mean, going off subject, Noah Gray has looked way better in that whole entire Kelsey role. But Tucker Kraft for me, I think is more of the typical tight end you want to see. And Kincaid is what I think we're going to be chasing him like Pitts.
I think that is extremely well said. My guy is Brock Bowers, and I'm going to tell you that I've seen enough, and I'm part of like finding value is to be ahead of the curve. And I saw this yesterday. And did you happen to watch any of the Raiders Broncos game? Because I will tell you, it was a more enjoyable game to watch for me than the Packers and the Niners. I did not enjoy watching that game. I will tell you, I noticed that the Broncos put Patrick Surtain on Brock Bowers several times, and I'm looking at stats, and Bowers went 4 for 38 on 10 targets.
But on Patrick Surtain, who is the shutdown corner in the NFL.
And so what you're hoping is, if you're trying to get cheap Brock Bowers, is that you're hoping that the rest of the teams in the league are like, hey, we're just going to put our best cover corner on Bowers, and it drives the price down. He's a guy that, to your point about Kyle Pitts, I was like, it was different with Bowers because he was coming out of Georgia and he had a little bit more, like, I just felt like Kyle Pitts came out of like a one-year wonder. And I know he wasn't, but he really had that one monstrous season at Florida.
And the combine helped, and Bowers not doing the combine. If Bowers would have done the combine, we would look at him as a Kyle Pitts, but he didn't.
Funny story, if you were to have drafted these guys just based on physical appearance, I think Brock Bowers would have been like a bottom.
That's why he didn't make the combine. He was selling insurance to a couple of people on the sideline, and he missed his run.
I mean, the issue. But dude is just awesome. So he's the one that I'm really – obviously, Cade Otton. I've been a big Cade Otton guy the entire season. Didn't do great yesterday. Didn't need to. But, yeah, you stole mine for sure. I was in on Tucker Kraft, and for the very reason. I mean, we see how the 49ers use George Kittle. And I don't want to go a one-to-one comparison. But LaFleur, Shanahan, McVay, they all run the same system. And – I think that's what's missing in LA with the Rams. And
that's not the thing. They tried to trade up. They tried to trade up to 10 to go get Bowers. That was their whole plan.
How cool would that have been?
Could you imagine?
Kupp and Nakua and Bowers.
Nobody would be able to stop the middle of the field with them.
It would be crazy. Well, listen, man, we're coming up right on an hour here as we record, and we've got the Man versus Machine crew coming up behind us. As people are listening to this, it's probably Thanksgiving unless it got launched early, and it's Wednesday night, so Thanksgiving's tomorrow. So we hope you guys have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. But Tyler, what else is going on, man? Anything you want to get out there before we end this stream?
No, as my fantasy industry time ends, I still listen to podcasts like this podcast. I still enjoy the game. I sit in the shower all the time thinking of what deals I can make. Memphis, you know me. I love trading. And you know what? My advice to you is if you like a player, go trade for him. If people are going to, bash you for saying you lost a trade, that thing could look different in a year. So don't let it get to you. Just have fun with it. I mean, yeah, if you're in like a big money league, go win it. But if you're not, and it's like a $50, $30 league, just have a team that you enjoy having. It's a game within a game. Have some fandom. Don't take it too seriously. But I mean, still kick the shit out of people. Like whenever I play Memphis, I wake up in the morning, I put my big boy pants on, and I still lose to them.
So we're at the end where we're at the nonsense portion of the program. You and Doug were the only team to have beaten me so far.
We were so pumped.
in Trade Addict 7. And that team, that's been a team that I've had for a while that's been really good. And I've just been so, but I couldn't. That was the week that I think it was the week that Jamar Chase had like 974,000 points. And I just, and I got close at the end. Like I had some Monday Night Miracle. I was within range. I didn't get there. I was within range, but to Tyler's point, I've always said this, and I'll pair mine with Tyler and Dynasty Rich, with his take is that for me, I've always said I lose trades to win leagues. You have to be willing to quote unquote lose a trade to win a league. In that league that you're talking about, and we've covered it on the pod, I traded my future first for Josh Downs and Brian Robinson. And Josh Downs, I have not gotten an update on the injury, but that dude's been balling out. He's been a wide receiver 1, and I got Brian Robinson, who's before being injured as well, had been an RB1. And that ties me back to Dynasty Rich's take. Rich Dotson, for Dynasty nerds, for those that don't know, is that he's like an overpay today is absolutely winning value next year.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to pay the market. You got to be careful with guys like Bowers. We mentioned Brock Bowers in the body of the show. You got to be careful because he's already toward the tight end 1. His value's it can't get higher than the tight end 1. It can be the tight end 1 and it can sustain, but you're toward the tippy top. So just wanted to get that out there. But yeah, man, I wanted to get you on one more time before you go start coaching. We're hoping the Dynasty Happy Hour sticks around. It's an institution in the Dynasty space, man.
That's all up to Doug. We'll see what he decides. He's still kind of flip-flopping, trying to decide what he wants to do, but he's got to find a co-host. And yeah, I mean, there's lots of people out there that probably love the chance to podcast. And
I think I can play matchmaker for him, maybe help him out so we can if we keep the Dynasty WarZone, the Dynasty Happy Hour going, you're guaranteed to make, I would like, with sports betting being so prevalent now, I would say that the number of Tyler Guenthner podcast appearance in a calendar year, I would set the over under at 3.5. I think we can get you on a podcast here or there quarterly.
Oh yeah.
Just to talk just talk ball with the boys. But man, I'm excited for you. As a dad who coaches his kid in sports, I think that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are getting that chance to play soccer together. The Dynasty industry will not be better without you. I will say that for sure. Thank you for being an amazing friend. Obviously, you and I will be in leagues. We'll stay in touch.
Oh yeah.
But you're one of the good ones, bro. And I'm glad you took some time on a busy holiday week to jump on and podcast with me.
Hey, it's always fun. Like I said, I'll still have my mic. I'll still have my computer, even though my wife's trying to take my computer from me. So I'll be available. There'll be opportunities for me to podcast. And yeah, like I appreciate you. You're a good friend. Always will be. I might show up at the expo every now and then. I told my wife I'd like to go one more time before I'm 6 feet under and plant food. So yeah, I'll still be involved. I'll also be in all the leagues I'm in right now. I cut it down the past 2 years to where I'm like, perfect. This is where I want to be. We got 2 listener leagues we're keeping up. So yeah, it's Dynasty Happy Hour may be shutting off, but it will always live on.
It'll live on forever. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. If you're listening to this on the way to Thanksgiving dinner, spend time with your family. Have a great holiday weekend. Go enjoy. The playoffs will be here before you know. I want to thank Tyler for jumping on with me. But on behalf of Tyler, who's been doing it since 2016, and we've been doing it since 2017, remember, we love you guys. And as always, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. We'll see you back here next week. Maybe we'll have some Jerry. Maybe he's still on assignment. Tune in to find out.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.